Good afternoon, everyone. Cynthia Gwiazda here, Community Services Librarian at Hagaman Library here in East Haven. So happy November. It's November 1st. And we have some great new books right straight off the press. So I'm going to talk to you a little about some of those books that we have available at the library that you can place holds on, and some may be available to borrow right now. So without further ado, I'm going to share those with you. So these are new featured November reads. This is adult fiction. And there's a little note up here. This coming Wednesday evening at 6:15, we'll be having a poetry lounge and open mic. So anyone that writes poetry, or if you have favorite poems by your favorite authors that you'd like to share, we're having a poetry lounge and open mic night, and it's this Wednesday, begins around 6:15. Award-winning author and poet Deborah Elmore will be co-hosting the event, and she will read some of her poetry as well. And we invite everyone to come who would like to and share your poetry or share some of your favorite poems. So we hope you'll join us. And that's again this Wednesday, November 3rd at 6:15, and it will be in our DeMayo room. So without further ado, I'd like to talk to you about some new fiction that we have at the library. The first book I'd like to talk with you about is called With Teeth by Kristen Arnett. So that's With Teeth by Kristen Arnett. If she's being honest, Sammy Lucas is scared of her son. Working from home in the close quarters of their Florida house, she lives with one wary eye peeled on Samson, a sullen, unknowable boy who resists her every attempt to bond with him. Uncertain in her own feelings about motherhood, she tries her best, driving, cleaning, cooking, prodding him to finish projects for school, while growing increasingly resentful of Monica, her confident but absent wife. As Samson grows from feral toddler to surly teenager, Sammy's life begins to deteriorate into a mess of unruly behavior, and her struggle to create a picture-perfect queer family unravels. When her son's hostility finally spills over into physical aggression, Sammy must confront her role in the mess and the possibility that it will never be clean again. Blending the warmth and wit of Arnott's breakout hit, Mostly Dead Things, with a candid take on queer family dynamics, With Teeth is a thought-provoking portrait of the delicate fabric of family and the many ways it can be torn apart. That's called With Teeth by Kristen Arnett. Lady Sunshine by Amy Mason Doan. For Jackie Pierce, everything changed the summer of 1979 when she spent 3 months of infinite freedom at her bohemian uncle's sprawling estate on the California coast. As musicians, artists, and free spirits gathered at the sandcastle for the season in pursuit of inspiration and communal living, Jackie and her cousin Willa fell into a fast friendship, testing their limits along the rocky beach and in the wild woods until the summer abruptly ended in tragedy, and Willa silently slipped away into the night. 20 years later, Jackie unexpectedly inherits the sandcastle and returns to the iconic estate for a short visit to ready it for sale. But she reluctantly extends her stay when she learns that before her death, her estranged aunt had promised an up-and-coming producer he could record a tribute album to her late uncle at the property studio. As her musical guests bring the place to life again with their sun-drenched beach days and late-night bonfires, Jackie begins to notice startling parallels to that summer long ago. And when a piece of the past resurfaces and sparks new questions about Willa's disappearance, Jackie must discover if the dark secret she's kept ever since is even the truth at all. That's Lady Sunshine by Amy Mason Doan. The Turnout by Megan Abbott. With their long necks and matching buns and pink tights, Dara and Marie Durant have been dancers since they can remember. Growing up, they were homeschooled and trained by their glamorous mother, founder of the Durant School of Dance. After their parents' death in a tragic accident nearly a dozen years ago, the sisters began running the school together, along with Charlie, Dara's husband, and once their mother's prized student. Marie, warm and soft, teaches the younger students. Dara, with her precision, trains the older ones. And Charlie, sidelined from dancing after years of injuries, rules over the back office. Circling around one another, the three have perfected a dance 6 days a week that keeps the studio thriving. But when a suspicious accident occurs just at the onset of the school's annual performance of the Nutcracker, a season of competition, anxiety, and exhilaration, an interloper arrives and threatens the sisters' delicate balance. Taut and unnerving, the Turnout is Megan Abbott at the height of her game. With uncanny insight and hypnotic writing, it is a sharp and strange dissection of family ties and sexuality, femininity, and power, and a tale that is both alarming and irresistible. That's The Turnout by Megan Abbott. The Bennett Women by Eden Apia Kubi. In this delightfully modern spin on Pride and Prejudice, love is a goal, marriage is a distant option, and self-discovery is a sure thing. Welcome to Bennett House, the only all-women's dorm at prestigious Longbourn University, home to three close friends who are about to have an eventful year. EJ is an ambitious Black engineering student. Her best friend, Jamie, is a newly out trans woman studying French and theater. Tessa is a Filipina astronomy major with guy trouble. For them, Bennett House is more than a residence. It's an oasis of feminism, femininity, and enlightenment. But as great as Longbourn is for academics, EJ knows it can be a wretched place to find love. Yet the fall season is young and brimming with surprising possibilities. Jamie's prospect is Lee Gregory, son of a Hollywood producer and a gentleman so charming he practically sparkles. That leaves EJ with Lee's arrogant best friend, Will. For Jamie's sake, EJ must put up with the disagreeable, distressingly handsome, not quite famous TV actor for as long as she can. What of it? EJ has her eyes on a bigger prize anyway. Launching a spectacular engineering career in the real world she's been hearing so much about. But what happens when all their lives become entwined in ways no one could have predicted? And EJ finds herself drawn to a man who's not exactly a perfect fit for the future she has planned. The Bennett Women by Eden Apia Kubi. The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman. The Owens family has been cursed in matters of love for over 300 years, but all of that is about to change. The novel begins in a library, the best place for a story to be conjured, when beloved Aunt Jet Owens hears the death watch beetle and knows she has only 7 days to live. Jet is not the only one in danger. The curse is already at work. A frantic attempt to save a young man's life spurs 3 generations of the Owens women and one long-lost brother to use their unusual gifts to break the curse as they travel from Paris to London to the English countryside where their ancestor Maria Owens first practiced the untamed art. The younger generation discovers secrets that have been hidden from them in matters of both magic and love by Sally, their fiercely protective mother. As Kylie Owens uncovers the truth about who she is and what her own dark powers are, her Aunt Franny comes to understand that she is ready to sacrifice everything for her family, and Sally Owens realizes that she is willing to give up everything for love. The Book of Magic is a breathtaking conclusion that celebrates mothers and daughters, sisters and brothers, and anyone who has ever been in love. The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman. Where the Forest Meets the Stars by Glendy Vandera. After the loss of her mother and her own battle with breast cancer, Joanna Teal returns to her graduate research on nesting birds in rural Illinois, determined to prove that her recent hardships have not broken her. She throws herself into her work from dusk till dawn until her solitary routine is disrupted by the appearance of a mysterious child who shows up at her cabin barefoot and covered in bruises. The girl calls herself Ursa, and she claims to have been sent from the stars to witness 5 miracles. With concerns about the child's home situation, Jo reluctantly agrees to let her stay, just until she learns more about Ursa's past. Jo enlists the help of her reclusive neighbor, Gabrielle Nash, to solve the mystery of the charming child. But the more time they spend together, the more questions they have. How does a young girl not only read, but understand Shakespeare? Why do good things keep happening in her presence? And why aren't Jo and Gabe checking the missing children's website anymore? Though the three have formed an incredible bond, they know difficult choices must be made. As the summer nears an end and Ursa gets closer to her 5th miracle, her dangerous past closes in. When it finally catches up to them, all their painful secrets will be forced into the open, and their fates will be left to the stars. Where the Forest Meets the Stars by Glendy Vandera. Clark and Division by Naomi Harahara. Chicago, 1944. 20-year-old Aki Ito and her parents have just been released from Manzanar, where they have been detained by the U.S. government since the aftermath of Pearl Harbor, together with thousands of other Japanese Americans. The life in California the Itos were forced to leave behind is gone. Instead, they're being resettled 2,000 miles away in Chicago, where Aki's older sister Rose was sent months earlier and moved to the new Japanese American neighborhood near Clark and Division Streets. But on the eve of the Ito's family reunion, Rose is killed by a subway train. Aki, who worshipped her sister, is stunned. Officials are ruling Rose's death a suicide. Aki cannot believe her perfect, polished, and optimistic sister would end her life. Her instinct tells her there is much more to the story, and she knows she's the only person who could ever learn the truth. Inspired by historical events, Clark and Division infuses an atmospheric and heartbreakingly real crime with rich period details and delicately wrought personal stories. Naomi Harahara has gleaned from 30 years of research and archival work in Japanese American history. This is called Clark and Division by Naomi Harahara. Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead. To his customers and neighbors on 125th Street, Ray Carney is an upstanding salesman of reasonably priced furniture, making a decent life for himself and his family. He and his wife Elizabeth are expecting their 2nd child, and if her parents on Strivers Row don't approve of him or their cramped apartment across from the subway tracks, it's still home. Few people know he descends from a line of uptown hoods and crooks, and that his facade of normalcy has more than a few cracks in it, cracks that are getting bigger all the time. Cash is tight, especially with all those installment plan sofas. So if his cousin Freddie occasionally drops off the odd ring or necklace, Ray doesn't ask where it comes from. He knows a discreet jeweler downtown who doesn't ask questions either. Then Freddie falls in with a crew who plan to rob the Hotel Teresa, the Waldorf of Harlem, and volunteers raise services as the fence. The heist doesn't go as planned. They really do. Now Ray has a new clientele, one made up of shady cops, vicious local gangsters, two-bit pornographers, and other assorted Harlem lowlifes. Thus begins the internal tussle between Ray, the striver, and Ray the crook. As Ray navigates this double life, he begins to see who actually pulls the strings in Harlem. Can Ray avoid getting killed, save his cousin, and grab his share of the big score, all while maintaining his reputation as the go-to source for all your quality home furniture needs? Harlem Shuffle's ingenious story plays out in a beautifully recreated New York City of the early 1960s. It's a family saga masquerading as a crime novel, a hilarious morality play, a social novel about race and power, and ultimately a love letter to Harlem. That's Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead. And that concludes our November adult fiction book talk. I hope you've enjoyed this. And please call the library 203-468-3890 to reserve any of these titles. You can also go on our website, www.hagamanlibrary.org, and you can go under catalog in my account and log in, and you can also place holds on these titles that way. But please give us a call, and I hope you've enjoyed today's book talk, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.